thoughts on my mind, I can't sleep at night, so I just keep writing. I don't need no help, I don't need opinions, so don't waste my time then. Killing the game and I gotta go ask anybody, they all heard about it. They know when the kid and he's spitting it, know when he getting it, bit and I get in my way. Got this, I like do whatever I say, cause I could go put you on blast. People been mad at me cause I don't follow them back. I'm laughing cause that is so whack. Why they all trying to act like they been bossing when really their boss has been bossing them up? Nobody ever been telling me what I would do when I keep in the cash, for the shit out of luck. I want it more, now I get what I wish. Upgrading now with some pants that I whip. Making 6 figures, don't talk about it. Money ain't shit, it's about how you think. Tired of people who making excuses, then they complain about losing. Tell me about what you been doing, tell me about how you been moving. You ain't got nothing to prove then. I did it all on my own, they looking like all of my clones. I don't be following trends, fuck all the popular clothes. You faking and everyone knows, I just be keeping it real. They thinking that I have to go sign a deal, but really the people just found an appeal. I'm in my own lane and I'm steering the wheel, ayy. It's funny how it goes, funny how it goes. Working every night till the sunrise.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once again. You're sitting here with the former Shelbyville Heat members, now opposite side of the fences. You know, yourself and Royalty, myself calling it straight down the middle for the XCW's board of directors as the GM. We're going to talk about the first show of its kind today. Back in 2004, going into 2005, we obviously walked around quite a bit. That was just our thing. We walk around, talk about females, talk about our issues we were having, just hanging out, having a good time. We were trying to decide on a potential new show, and we ultimately came up with Cold Day in Hell. How did we decide to start doing Cold Day in Hell? Because originally it was supposed to be called The Snow Show.
So it was actually a rip-off. Back in 1997, WWE had an In Your House that was called In Your House, Cold Day in Hell.
I don't remember this.
Featured a match between Stone Cold and Undertaker. And this was like
I remember
Cold's
this now.
upbringing,
Yep.
and you know, like the Bret Hart Canadian thing was pretty hot at the time, and Farouk and Ahmed was a big thing at the time. Yeah. So it was from that era, and so I always liked that name. And WWE only used it that one time, and it was kind of like a suffix name to the In Your House series. So like technically it was just In Your House, but then like later years they took the names off the In Your Houses and made it like instead of In Your House Judgment Day, it was just Judgment Day.
Yeah.
Well, they never used Cold Day in Hell again. So like Over the Edge, I stole that. I stole Cold Day in Hell. I stole a few of those names, and I'm like, hey, we're it's butt-ass cold out here, and Snow Show only works if there's snow on the ground, and here we are in our first Cold Day in Hell, and there's no snow on the ground, so we needed something else, and for some reason that was the first thing that popped in my mind.
Ultimately, it will lead to, I'd say, ultimately a successful show, because we still use it.
It returned last year after a little bit of a hiatus.
And what do you remember about the morality in the locker room in 2005?
Completely different than now.
And we're not going to factor in the fact that Hazard just fell in the mud like a couple weeks before, maybe even like that week, fell in the mud. Brand new North Carolina baby blue tracksuit, just got for Christmas. Fuck that baby blue tracksuit all up. What's the morality?
The morale back then, it's obviously a lot different. Things are a little more serious these days. We're competing against other companies. We're always looking to grow our brand and get us out there, socials and drive views and stuff like that. Back then, we just didn't give a shit. We barely had storylines and promos or anything like that. We were just trying to put on the best show for us that we possibly could. So the morale back then was relaxed, not as serious.
Yeah.
Obviously, the first match on Cold Day in Hell featured Hazard coming out in Garland, and
it did.
He goes against Grim Reaper, and they do these dumb little Grim Reaper type skits, and it wasn't as serious. Of course, we had the more serious stuff at the end of the day. We had You know, we had like the 30-minute Iron Man match between Vapor and Cynical. We had Christmas light bulbs with Psychor and Genocide, so like it got a little more serious as the show went on. We had the rivalry of VK2 versus MPG, which was pretty hot. Myself and DTC were going up against you and Zero, so like a lot of it was a good time for XCW in that regard, but I mean, looking back on it now and to see the quality of product that we can put on versus the quality of product that we had then, it's night and day.
Well, we might as well get into it. 101, Hazard going against the winner of XCW's first ever Cruiserweight Open in 2005. But Hazard facing off against Grim Reaper. Hazard, obviously, defeating Grim Reaper.
Yeah, this was a transition period for Hazard. We had Hazard, you know, the stone face heel for the first year and a quarter of his career. You know, he debuted at the end of 2003, and he continued out through all of 2004 as a heel. Big dominant heel. I mean, when you're looking at a 350-pound dude, and, you know, versus our sizes at the time, like he dominated all of us, and so like the more and more that I got to hang around Hazard, the more and more he got loose and you know, used to the group, the more and more we're like, this dude's got a completely different side of him. So we're like, you know, maybe it's time we turn him baby and we little bit of that personality out. Let him get it out on camera. So that's what we did, and it first started in a feud with Lucifer where he, you know, stone face serious Hazard hits him with a car. They faced each other Halloween Havoc 2004, and it's where he did the, oh, you're breaking my arm. He starts laughing and giggling and stuff. We're like, there it is. Like, we got to do it. And we're like, well, what do you want to do? How do you want to make this transition? He said, give me Grim Reaper. And boy, that was it. And the Grim Reaper Hazard rivalry was born, or Heifer.
Heifer. Good old Heifer.
Heifer.
In case people don't know who Heifer is, one night, funny story, we're all chilling in my mom's garage on Locust Street. We kept all our wrestling gear there at the time in the garage. You know, people had started putting on different characters' outfit. I think I put on Total Darkness or something like that, and Hazard put on Reefer's mask, and somebody put on Nightmare's mask, and you know, it was back in the free time days, so to speak. Next up, we had the XCW Television Champion being defended, and it is Disciple and D-Mac. Disciple would defeat D-Mac to become XCW Television Champion.
Well, obviously both men were pretty new to XCW. They both debuted around October the previous year. I felt like I had a little more dedication coming from Disciple than I did D-Mac, and I kind of felt that. And even though D-Mac like came out of the gate right off the bat, won the first television championship ever, and like he just immediately caught fire, I couldn't say that I necessarily trusted him to continue with the company going forward. And I knew that we were going to have a short hiatus between Cold Day and our next event in March or April of that year. And I wanted to make sure that the title was protected and that I could count on, you know, in March I was going to have a television champion walking out to the ring. The only way that I can guarantee that, unfortunately, was to have D-Mac drop the title to Disciple, because Disciple showed more promise in wanting to be a part of XCW. And it was a good call, because we never seen D-Mac ever again.
And to this day, we still have not seen D-Mac. Funny story about that. The inaugural television title battle royal, I am the only person that didn't think about this intentionally. You know, it popped into my mind. I eliminated myself from this match Do you remember that?
Yeah, you did a frog splash to the outside.
I did a frog splash to the crowd outside. At least I could have been eliminated first, but like, I just jumped to the fucking outside.
The
Like an
one thing
idiot.
that stands out to me in that match, for some reason, it's stupid, and most people don't even know about it. You probably do. There's an XCW scrapbook that Emily had made.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, she was just like hot for trot over fucking XCW at the time. Like, she just creamed herself to fucking bed thinking about our show. So, like, she'd take pictures, blah, blah, blah. She was XCW fucking bonkers. So, years later, she made this scrapbook, and it's got all the old pictures in it, the 04 and 05 and some 06, you know, it's like all the early year stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a picture from that Battle Royal. And this is when Vapor and Genocide were really, like, kicking back up their feud from when Team Rain had split.
Yeah.
And there's a picture of Vapor. For some reason, like, Genocide's already in the ring, and Vapor comes out. And he's just like, for some reason, he ran. I've never seen him run. Yeah, I've never seen Vapor run in my entire life, since or before. So, like, he's running to the ring, and, like, she gets a picture of him, like, not touching the ground, and he's like, and it's just, I don't know, for some reason, like, that's the fastest ginger I've ever seen in my life.
I remember that now. That's fucking hilarious. Speaking of Genocide, the next match on the card is Genocide and Psychor. But we're going to get to that after the first commercial break. Join us when we come back.
That's enough! Just
Why?
Oh! Broke the light bulb! Ah, God! Ah! I know way to die, S.5. I got a way to die, choose yours. Oh, you hit the ball!
We're back from that footage from, not James Cerebral. We're back from the footage from the Psychor and
No, that's where James Cerebral originates.
I remember
D-Mac.
D-Mac's cousin. Beautiful footage, Genocide and Psychor.
Yeah, Christmas bulbs. Yeah.
hardcore match, international championship between Genocide and Psycor. Kind of guide us into this transition, because obviously he recently had became Genocide.
Mm-hmm. So, I think one of the reasons why we wanted to give a hardcore style match, like, obviously that's what Psycor's into.
Yeah.
I mean, even to this day, like, he loves to be able to put on some brutal matches. I don't necessarily put Psycor in brutal matches because, honestly, in my opinion, like, when you do hardcore style a lot, sometimes that's kind of like a mask a little bit. Like no offense to like Jesse Justice or like Drago or guys like that who have multiple runs as like the Extreme or the hardcore champion with an XCW, but it was a mask that, hey, they don't necessarily have the wrestling ability of a Corey, a Tommy, a Chris Jones.
Yeah.
So we put them in this hardcore title situation to kind of mask the fact that they're not exactly the wrestlers of like our top talent. And that still comes up today. I mean, you had like I brought in Ethan Rockwell and Will Smith and immediately put them in a situation where they're going back and forth for the Extreme title, and that was the same kind of thing. I knew that they weren't exactly up to par with the guys who were working on top at the time, which would have been like yourself, Venom, Corey Lee, Jason Arcane. There's no way that they're going to be able to go out there and have those type of matches that those guys were having. So the best thing to do was to put them in a situation where they could mask that by using weapons and having more of a gimmicky stipulation style match. And that was true, in my opinion, for Psycor at the time. He was just starting coming into his own. Really, in my opinion, the last couple of years has been the best Psycor's ever been. You look at Psycor 04, 05 compared to now, it's night and day. Like, he's, my God, talk about an improved wrestler. Psycor may be it. Like, he may be the man. So, like...
He also had that really good match with Matt Chincho when we had the same show.
Halloween Havoc 15 or 14.
Yeah.
But, like, Psycor didn't really come into his own until later in his career, which is great. I mean, he's definitely made a name for himself in the last couple of years. And I'm happy to have him here. So, but with that being said, we knew that, we're putting Psycor up on the card. He did have a really good match with you a few months previous to that for the power title, and that was when we made the switch for him. Yeah. He ended up losing the power title to one of your favorite matches of all time.
He did.
At SummerMania 2.
To Eternal Darkness.
So,
I love it.
We did that so that we could get Psycor to that next level, and he would eventually have a short rivalry with DTC where they had, again, some hardcore style matches. So that was really what Psycor was into, and that was really what we were doing with Psycor at the time. Now, Genocide's part, even to this day, Genocide's not much of a hardcore guy. Like, he doesn't really get into the weapons, or, he doesn't do the stiff shots. That's just not his cup of tea. But, and if it tells you anything, he's never held a hardcore or extreme championship in his entire career. Ever. It's the only title that he's never won.
So Genocide is not a Grand Slam champion?
No, he's not.
Good,
He's never won that
I'll make
championship.
sure I remind him.
Yeah. Oh, he talked to me about it last night. He's number one contender for the damn title, and all he cares about is the fact he never won hardcore. But anyway, this was a different environment for Genocide, but like you said, he had just recently switched over from Crit Acid to Genocide. We were trying to give him a new edge. We gave him a darker persona. He came out with a trench coat. And like the very first match back, he puts DTC through a barbed wire, or not a barbed wire, a thumbtack table. Yeah. And he really tried to establish himself as this more, evil dominant style, you know, a complete 360 from the goofy, I'm on the horde, you know, Kurt Aston.
Because ultimately genocide just means like the annihilation of an entire race, essentially.
Yeah, so like we try to give a darker side to genocide, and what better of a way than to put him with Psychor. You know, he'd been out of the world title picture for a majority of the year after he lost to DTC. So
and if we beat his ass.
Yeah. So yeah. So it was time to kind of revitalize genocide, getting back to that promised land, and by doing so, we put him in a situation for the international title. And it just so happened that Psychor was that champ.
Yep.
And I'll give it to him. Like, they had a pretty brutal match. They took some like old books, like paperback books, and they lit those on fire on a stop sign.
I remember that.
And did some spots on that. And then they have, and I think to this day they're the only ones that's ever had the glass ornaments.
Me and Hazard in deathmatch.
Okay. And
but besides that, they were the ones.
Yeah, they were the first.
They were the first.
So they did the glass bulbs off Christmas trees, and they were doing 187s and psych outs on those, and that was the first time that we ever tried to use an actual table.
Yeah.
It was actually the second, I guess, but it's the unbreakable real table. I tried to do a suicide effect
the first
to
one was
you,
me, yeah.
And then they tried to do some spots, and just like I think Genocide did an elbow drop off the porch.
Yeah.
It didn't work. Whatever.
It seems like me and Psychor, like if we're in the match, the table's not fucking breaking.
So, essentially, the match was made to get Genocide over, and he was Genocide until recently, so I guess it worked.
Ultimately, Genocide would reign victorious, capturing the international championship.
Then he had a short feud with Cynical after, which is kind of weird.
And he did. We're going into probably, you think of XCW feuds, you can't think of the top 3 or top 5 without mentioning this one. VK2, and at the time, MPG. It was before the transition to Show the Heat.
Just a few shows before that.
We're talking about Fletch and DTC representing VK2, the Virtual Killers 2, versus Chris Jones.
I don't know if you remember this, but this match almost didn't happen.
I remember something about it not happening, like not almost happening, but I don't remember why.
Well, we're like literally minutes away from this match in our 20-degree weather.
Yep.
And finally, we see DTC walk through the cornfield. Remember that?
Oh, yeah. DTC
was super late to the show, which was really uncharacteristic for him at the time. And we're just like, where in the hell is D? And like, he showed up at the last second, and the match was not good.
I don't remember it.
The match was not good at all. Obviously, DTC and Zero in real life are brothers, and in ring their chemistry was just not great. And even though me and you could shine in the match, not them so much. And the porch by that point was super slick and wet, and I think it was filmed out of order because DTC was late. It just it was just a whirlwind of shit. It was just, that match did not work. And not to mention that somebody put in a complaint about us wrestling, and so my grandma was out there trying to shut down the rest of the show.
I vaguely remember that. That's like the only part about the thing I remember is your grandma.
So yeah, that match almost didn't happen twice.
But to make editing more difficult, I'm gonna need you to throw some footage of that up on the big screen for when this thing gets edited. I need to refresh my memory.
I don't need a partner. Ladies and gentlemen, here's the match. Title. And it's a tornado tag team match. No holds barred. How's it? German suplex from S.5. 0. RKO. What's Fletch doing? Oh, a double scissors kick. Ooh. Ran to the shed, and there's a clothesline. Oh, There's the head scissors. A suplex. And there's their finisher. Ooh, super kick to the face. 2, 3. There's your winners.
Ultimately, Shelbyville Heat would reign victorious and retain the tag team championships, which would not much longer after this
Set up DTC turn on VK2.
set up the DTC turn. A lot of people don't remember. Like we've talked about it several times before. Like there was supposed to be a switch. Ultimately, Chris Jones and DTC was supposed to switch places. I was supposed to.
Yeah, we were gonna have the brothers.
Yeah, I was supposed to join VK2, and DTC was supposed to join MPG. Ultimately, it didn't happen. I think honestly for the better.
Yeah.
Moving on.
I don't think Zero was long for that world much after that either. He went on house arrest.
And then I had
a big chunk of shows.
I had to defend the tag team titles by myself against.
When he came back, he just gored the shit out of me as Nightmare. Whatever.
Against you and Cynical and Hazard and Lil Pimp.
And then he had those big ass, nasty fucking cowboy boot thingies that he just stomped the fuck out of everybody.
Yeah, there's a match way.
We still miss you, Zero.
Yeah. And I think it's like 2009. Was that when we were wrestling at Eddie Chastity's house?
09, yeah.
There was a match where it was like a gauntlet or something like that, and Zero was one of the participants.
Yeah, you wrestled.
I wrestled somebody, but ultimately Hazard ended up winning.
You wrestled some weird shit. Drago, I think, was in it. Zero.
It was supposed to be DTC, and Hazard like hit him with a vehicle again.
Yeah, because the winner was supposed to face Cynical.
Yeah. Well,
which ended up being Hazard. He beat Cynical in his last match.
But Zero fucking kicked me in the face, and like I'm gushing blood everywhere, and I'm still having to wrestle like another fucking 20 minutes. Thanks, Zero. Yeah. We're going on to the main event, the first ever XCW Ironman match, and this is not just the 15 minutes like we've done in the past. We've done more 15 versus the 30s.
Sure, yeah.
It is Cynical, Vapor, vying for that XCW championship. Ultimately, Cynical would reign victorious, beating Vapor in a score of 5-4.
Yeah, Cynical's historic reign would continue as the face of XCW, and he was for a big chunk of that year, obviously winning at SummerSlam 2 against you in the trunk match, and then the VK2 and PG thing, and obviously with you and Zero working more tags, we needed the singles guy that was going to work the world champion of the group. Strange looking back on it now, because it's like, why is it not Fletch and Chris Jones? Like, they're the obvious leaders of the two brands. Why?
And it wasn't supposed to be like that. It was Dylan Bostic was supposed to be the leader of MPG.
True. Well, technically Vapor was. But looking back on the history of everybody's careers, all the parallels of the six of the core guys that were in the feud, the world title picture should have been you and I, but ultimately is actually Cynical and Vapor. I think Cynical was superior to me in wrestling ability, and he was the pretty face that everybody could get behind, and VK2 were the apparent baby faces. So like, it made the most sense for Cynical to be in that position rather than me. So DTC and I had the most history out of the three in the core group, I think. I knew DTC a little bit longer than Cynical. So ultimately, that's kind of the premise around DTC's turn, was that he was jealous of Cynical, and the fact that Cynical and I had become so close within the group and kind of left him behind when me and him were the original group. And then he was jealous of my girlfriend, so he tried to attack her and put her through a table and all those things, which has later been edited out, so you'll never see it. But
we still have the footage.
Somewhere, yeah. But I mean, yeah, that was kind of the basis of it. Was DTC's jealousy, and he turned on us, and the Cynical Vapor, like, that match turned out better than I thought it was going to.
Yep.
Vapor was a player in 04 and 05 until, he started getting into that's when he really, like in 05 is when he started having trouble with his living situations and stuff, and that's when his wishy-washy in and outs kind of started. I mean, 03 and 04 into 05, like Vapor was a mainstay, and he was a player in the company, and he had every right to be in that position at the time. He won the Viewers' Choice Awards Battle Royal to earn that opportunity against Cynical. He even that was even after having a match with S.5 for the international title previous to that too. So Vapor got that opportunity, and we really wanted to give them both something that was going to stand out, was going to be a little different. And, you know, I was like, hey, like, do you guys think that you could come up with a match that could last 30 minutes? And both of them seemed pretty confident that they would find a way, even though Cynical didn't really have a big arsenal.
No.
Especially then, like, he didn't even have a finish, technically. I mean, he kind of relied on us to come up with something for finishes. So we debuted a finish in there. He didn't keep that finish.
Yeah.
He would later, he was doing like a version of the Sky High as a finish in that, but he would eventually find his finish and stuff. So it was kind of a coming out moment for Cynical to be able to knock off somebody who was a 2-year vet in XCW, and it's kind of one of the faces of the company for years, and we really wanted to establish Cynical as that next big guy, and it just so happens we ended up with 2, and that was Cynical and Chris Jones. So things were much different in XCW then. But they, like I said, they had a great match. They lasted the whole 30, and the obvious choice was to put Cynical over in the first one so that they could come back at the beginning of the season, kind of a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Put him back in a rematch, First Blood, at the beginning of the season, and there's where DTC's jealousy would shine through, and he would come in and bust Cynical open, and Vapor would become champion, and then the Chris Jones jealousy would then kick in.
It's funny how I always turn on my tactical partners.
You had help from Zero, even though he slipped on that chair and busted his ass.
He did. I tried to kill Vapor.
Yeah,
I even had the chair the wrong way on purpose.
Yeah, I remember.
I was mean back then. But ultimately, a big change would occur after this match later in the year. Ultimately, DTC already being heel, Fletch would turn heel on Cynical, and then you'd have the Chris Jones.
It's all a ruse.
All a ruse. The Chris Jones turn face, hang out with Cynical and Hazard, we come out, confront Fletch, ultimately lead to the double turn. VK2 becoming the heels, and then Chris Jones Zero becoming Shelbyville Heat.
Zero kind of disappeared, and then it kind of became yourself, Genocide, and Hazard.
The dancing trio.
One of my favorite 6-man tags in XCW history.
It was absolutely hilarious to see Genocide try to spin around and dance.
Yeah, he did the Michael Jackson kick and spun around, dude.
But let's get down to the
Imagine if he did that now with his balls and belly and all that stuff. Like,
He'd probably-
long hair, he'd
he
be
could-
able to...
He couldn't even spin halfway.
He'd be able to flip his hair around when he did it. It'd be great. I'm gonna make him do it. Oh, Viewer's Choice is coming.
He can't do it.
Viewer's Choice is coming. You bet your ass I'm gonna play that song in the middle of Viewer's Choice. He's gonna do it.
He can't do it.
Will you do it with him?
Probably not. My favorite part of the show. Play Dave Meltzer.
Alright.
I'm going to give my score first. Out of 5 stars, I'm going to say the show was 3. It was just an average show. There was a couple bad matches on the card. Like, obviously, the Hazard Reefer wasn't a serious match. It was entertaining, not serious. Like you said yourself, the tag team match, not the greatest. But you had the first ever 30-minute Ironman match. Them both going the distance, 30 minutes, 5-4. And you had the very good international title match.
I'm gonna say probably 3.5, maybe 4. I think that between the, seeing a different side of Hazard that was entertaining, the international title match, which was brutal, and the main event that, was a first ever, the show worked. And I honestly, like, Disciple and D-Mac didn't have a bad match either.
I just don't remember much about that.
So, yeah, it was a solid show, a good way to kick off Cold Day, and I think it kind of speaks on the levels of why that show stuck around.
Something funny. I think this is the Chris Jones has 2 freckles on his penis show. Now that I think about it.
I think it may have been. No. There was one before that. The Genocide debut was the freckle penis.
Oh,
that
okay.
was me and you in our first singles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just Mac. I couldn't remember when. I thought this was when he was borrowing the trench coat at the time.
Yeah, well, it was. It was the same era, yeah.
Drew from the man himself. He said 3.5. I said 3. That's going to wrap up episode 4 of season 5. Join us next time when we come back with episode.
Too many thoughts in my mind, I can't sleep at night, so I just keep writing. I don't need no help, I don't need opinions, so don't waste my time then. Killing the game and I gotta go ask anybody, they all heard about it. They know when the kid and he's spitting it, know when he get in it, bed and I get in my way. Got this, I like do whatever I say, cause I can go put you on blast. People been mad at me cause I don't follow them back. I'm laughing cause that is so whack. Why they all trying to act like they been bossing when really their boss has been bossing them up? Nobody ever been telling me what I would do when I keep in the cash, by the shit out of luck. Ayy. It's funny how it goes, funny how it goes. Talking about shit they don't even know. Why they tryna tell me about what I should do? They don't know about the shit I've been through. It ain't what it seems, it ain't what it seems. Been 4 years, I've been chasing dreams. This ain't overnight, this ain't overnight. Working every night till the sunrise.